Hello and welcome. My name is Stephanie Adams and I will be the host for this TLC session. We are excited that you have joined us today for Term Paper Websites, an overview for instructors and staff. Please welcome Erik Johnson.
Hello, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Quick little background on me. I will be with Ashford almost 10 years. Fair amount of those years spent on campus here in Clinton in the College of Ed as an assistant professor. And I've been an AIA since late 2016. Just a quick overview for the presentation. I want to talk for hopefully 20 minutes or so, and then we'll leave some time for questions. But the focus is on these online assignment exchanges, how we use, as academic integrity, how we use these sites, what we look for when we're confirming a plagiarism with these sites. And then, like I said, we'll leave some time for questions. So a quick overview, history of what these sites have looked like. Over the years, they've evolved, they've changed. Domain names have changed. We used to maintain a list here in academic integrity of those sites. It seems obsolete now since they were changing and evolving so quickly. Most of these sites have changed their marketing and they've started to build themselves as tutoring websites. And they've become more common when we confirm plagiarisms. They are also working on the premise of user-created content. So almost like a third-party host, users upload content, users download content in that fashion. It's hard to kind of litigate or work with these, work against these sites. I'll give you an example. There used to be a site that we used to see fairly frequently called Student of Fortune. It's been shut down for a while now. It only got shut down because of a user uploaded medical files from Stanford, and they got caught shut down on a HIPAA violation, which really had nothing to do with what they were doing. But it was a technicality which ended up getting them shut down. We see a lot of the same sites over and over. Course Hero, Homework Market, Bartleby, PaperDo.com, and you guys will see those sites as well. I just want to give you a quick shot of what we look for when we're trying to confirm some of these term paper website matches. This is just a screenshot of what one of the first indicators we look at. You'll see these Turnitin sites, or I'm sorry, the Turnitin screenshot. Notice that all the course numbers are identical and the dates of those course numbers aren't the same start dates. And then you'll also notice that the assignment is the same with varying dates from February of 2017 up through May of 2018. This isn't the end-all be-all to definitively say a student's been using one of these websites, but when we open up a Turnitin website, this is kind of a red flag for us. Oh, we should probably start checking those sites. This one's unusual, and we really don't have a great explanation for it. We have some guesses, but on the left, you will see a Google search where the website is not listed. On the right, you will see a Bing search where Course Hero is listed with a strong match. We have found that when searching Course Hero specifically matches, for some reason Google does not grab them, and Bing does. We've ventured a few guesses onto why this is. Considering Google has become a verb, we think maybe there's some sort of programming intentionally there that keeps Google from grabbing that match. There's also a guess by us, of course, just a guess. Google at one point was listed as an investor for Course Hero, and we thought maybe that had something to do with it. In either way, we don't know why it works, but we do know that Bing is much stronger when it comes to matching to a fair amount of these websites. Here you'll see what we call a typical student match. These typical matches usually come at the start or the end of a paper. For us, that's easy. Course Hero provides a preview, a free preview of what they're offering on the site. That preview most of the time comes at the start of a paper that they're previewing or at the end of the paper that they're previewing. So if we've moved through that first indicator, and we're thinking website match, we'll go to the start of the paper and simply grab 2 or 3 sentences and throw it into Google, or I'm sorry, into Bing, and see if there's a match. This we see a lot. Just as an example, you will notice that there's slight word changes, omissions, but you can see how the sentence structure and it's basically just a cut and paste straight from Course Hero itself. The exact same thing would happen at the end of the paper. We'd grab the conclusion paragraph, throw it into a search, and then highlight there. A note for when when instructors would see this attachment in the email we send. When we get to this point, we will stop. We'll confirm that this has been copied into the from the website, and we won't continue to search for more matches. This is 2 paragraphs is enough for us to indicate that plagiarism did occur. Here's another typical student match. I included this one just so everyone can see that Course Hero doesn't differentiate between what is provided in the course and what the student provides. You'll see that the prompts are also not highlighted in our match. The student went here, grabbed the answers for whichever assignment this was, and then included, we don't include the prompts provided when we're making that match. We see a lot of template matches, and for some of the template heavy assignments, it's something that we like to pay attention to, just to make sure that we're not citing students based on a Turnitin match, also picking up the template language. These next 2 slides work together. Sometimes students will do the same thing and grab different portions of matches. Assignments are posted usually multiple times on Course Hero, on the other websites, and they may grab portions of an assignment from different papers or different responses. Here you'll see the first 2 templates matched in this document, and I'm going to toggle back and forth between these 2 slides just for a second so you can understand. You will see the next portion of the assignment copied from this assignment, which was posted to Course Hero. It's not that they necessarily went to both sites, but based on some of the previews that we get, we can make these matches. So you can see it just, it'll follow chronologically in the paper, and the student then grabs two different assignments and then sort of marries them into one assignment and is posted. Here's one that starts to become a little bit more intensive when we start to look for the matches themselves. The student submission is manipulated either by the student going through, reading the paper, and changing some words. You can see in the second paragraph relating to the second paragraph in the Course Hero match, you can see the student uses shockingly instead of unfortunately, individuals instead of the word people. We typically call this a thesaurus switch. Students can get awfully creative when doing this. We still will cite the student for plagiarism based on the fact that the sentence structure and paragraph structure is practically identical. And you will see that students, in the next slide, I just want to show you quickly, we're going to bounce back to this one, but I want to show you how we in AIA can kind of chase that down. Here you will see we have entered Turnitin directly through the Turnitin website, and this student specifically originally submitted their paper checking for a match. You can see the first match at 49. They worked it down a little bit to 46, worked it down a little further to 37, 29, so on and so forth, till they got it down to an acceptable, what they felt was an acceptable number at 17% match. And you can see the dates where they kind of worked it through. This does take a little bit more Turnitin knowledge, but when we start to, when you will recognize these papers, because a lot of the time some of the language gets a little fuzzy, gets a little garbled, doesn't quite make enough sense, and we then will go back in and look for these indicators, which then will allow us to open up that 49% match paper, compare it to the 17% match paper, and we can then demonstrate how the student originally obtained the work from a website like, say, Course Hero, and then worked it down to a manageable percentage, which they would believe is not necessarily detectable by the software. Here's another student manipulation that we see in a relatively frequently. They will go to a website. This one happens to be PaperDo.com. I wanted to try and find one that wasn't Course Hero. They happen to be the there are the lion's share of what we're matching the websites is always Course Hero. So I wanted to just grab a different one here. Here you will see that PaperDo provided a completed paper, and on the left you will see that the student worked that paper back into a outline form, and as you can see that this is another version of how the students will work to manipulate the move around use the website and then manipulate something back to kind of to serve their purpose specifically. Before we get to the final side, Steph, are you seeing any questions coming through? I don't have that up.
No, I don't have that into the last part of the session, unless you would like me to change it now.
No, I can just bring up I have the final slide, which will give some resources and some things for the
Okay.
instructors to use, but that's no big deal. I can just throw that up. Absolutely. Here you'll see just some resources that are available for you guys. This on the left there is a PDF that was recently developed in some gen ed courses, and I believe was distributed to some of the English 121, 122 instructors. I'm sure that it has gone wider than that. But it does talk to the students. A while back, we were concerned that shedding light on the websites themselves might drive student traffic to these websites. And what we've noticed is they're going there anyway. And instead of, we're trying to, prevent them from going there based on a number of different reasons. Number one being their marketing is pretty good. They call it tutoring, and because it's called tutoring, the students really don't feel that they're, in some cases, let's say, the students don't really feel like they're doing anything, totally incorrect. So there's a link to that PDF in this presentation. And then there's also a link to the AIA CETL, and there's a link to academic integrity if you have any questions at all that come up after the presentation. But I just thought maybe 10 minutes of questions or so to stay within the half an hour time frame might be. Are we getting questions, Steph, or not really? Or?
I have changed it so everybody can share right now. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to type them in the chat. And you should be able to see them, Eric. If you don't, let me know and I'll read them out to you. Do you see them?
Oh, yep, I just opened it up.
Okay. Brad Thames had a question.
Right, about us having an account. We've talked about it. It's come up before. We just haven't moved on getting an account. So far, we have in the, let's call it 2,000 that we've processed this year. We have not run across a case where we haven't been able to catch the match with the previews that are available. What tips us off is the same thing that most students can see in the actual, if they got the complete, let's say, Course Hero membership, for lack of a better way to explain it. Does that answer your question? All right. Did I miss some at the stop, maybe? Yes, I would assume that there are. That's why they originally were shutting down and changing domain names so quickly. We have found that some of these sites exist based on the tutoring concept and based on the fact, if you remember years and years ago, Napster was not shut down for a while based on the fact that their users were uploading content, and it was like a hosting site. That's probably a pretty good analogy of how a site like Course Hero can continue to exist. Does that help, Susan? Sure. The SpinBot papers, SpinBot discussions. If you have a question, feel free to send those in. We can definitely work those back and check. It's hard. It's harder to prove necessarily, but send them in and we can definitely check them out. It happens more often than you would think. We have, upon occasion, taken the garbled, nonsensical post or paper or portion of the paper and actually run it through SpinBot and gotten the original back and then searched the original and found where the original was. So it is possible. And when in doubt, feel free to send it in, reach out to one of us, and we can work with you to look through those.
Debbie Halewood had a question. Any movement on Turnitin being automated?
Couldn't tell you that one. CT Rowley about why Turnitin doesn't catch Course Hero. Again, we only can theorize on why it doesn't catch Course Hero, but we hardly see it as a match. It really depends on instructors submitting work, whether the instructor chooses to cite at the time of submission or not. Doesn't really matter, but once the work gets into the repository within Turnitin and then shows that match, we can then go back and then look for it. Like I said, with those indicators, it's easier to kind of guess that it might be a website paper, and because of those indicators that we have to look at, and we look at them all day. Don't let Course Hero give you a migraine. It's kind of a wormhole. You can spend days and days thinking about how these websites operate and how they're able to not be easier to catch given the technology that we have. Okay, let's see.
Looks like Susan Gould is asking about discussion boards. Is there any plans to automate Turnitin for discussion boards?
I would tell her to ask her program chair or dean. It does get brought up once in a while. We hear talk of it, but I don't think I can answer definitively one way or the other on closer to the discussion being automated or not. Remember, if you're going to Google a phrase and you're looking and you're assuming or you have an inclination or a guess that it might be a purchased item, it's always good to use both. Here in Academic Integrity, we'll use Google and Bing before we start to move down other ways to kind of match up whether it's being cheated or whether they're using it's being plagiarized or not. Sorry, I'm just trying to scroll through and make sure I don't miss any. I'm skipping what Jeff says because I'm sure I've heard it before.
I think we're caught up at the moment.
One thing that I might throw in as I'm kind of going through here, we still don't necessarily have a effective way to catch any student who would really have an essay actually custom written for them. Meaning I, Eric Johnson, reach out to Stephanie Adams, who works for XYZ company, and give her the prompt, and I need this paper by, Sunday night. and I'm willing to pay $15 a page. There are ways to look at that, but those are really difficult to catch, and we don't have an efficient way to really catch that or find out, kind of prove that.